That's the only way I can.
That's great.
Tell her. Look her in the eyes when you tell her.
So fun.
She was a doll. I thought she was a lot of fun.
You're
So
the
glad she
mother
came.
of my coworker.
No.
This episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty B and Tickets.
Heck yeah.
From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Pod Therapy. Real people,
Nailed
real
it.
problems, and real therapists.
This
You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. And now, broadcasting from the Churn, that's Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Woo! You know, it's interesting. You were talking about the finding a way to review the show thing, which we'll get to read some new ones at the end of the show. We are really close. We're at 99 reviews.
All podcasts read every review that comes in, right? That's not just us, right?
I think all the ones that appreciate the listeners
Yeah.
do.
Oh,
all right.
Which we will read all of them. But no, they now have this like security feature, I think, on most areas where you can review podcasts, where the system needs to know that you have listened to it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried to review us on Spotify, and it wouldn't let me because I had never played the show on Spotify.
Yeah.
And so it's like, nope, you need to listen to this. It said something like, listen to a few episodes before you have an opinion.
Yeah.
I was like, good for you, Spotify.
All right.
Way to gatekeep.
Yes.
That way nobody can just inflate all their reviews, which also means we need all of you.
Which is how we caught this, because
This is
that's
we were
exactly
I
what
was
we were
literally
trying.
trying to
Trying to
inflate our reviews. Good point. Yeah. Fuck you, Spotify. And I don't have an Apple, so I can't inflate those reviews.
An apple.
Yeah, an apple. I don't know how to do those things. Anyway, patreon.com/therapy. You can hear all about my fun Jim Does Vegas. I finally broke in to a much maligned Las Vegas show, and I review bomb it, and I pull no punches. You know, I tell it like it is, as I have generated the reputation for doing as a Las Vegas entertainment critic. So if you'd like to hear about my fun adventure, patreon.com/therapy. It is a good time. We've got some great questions for this episode of the show, leading off with grieving a former self from Katie. Hello, Nick, Jim, Whitney, and Dr. Smith.
Yep.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for
First of all, I'd like to say that Jim is trying to put on his glasses
There
while
we
not
go.
taking his headphones
There
off.
we go.
And he finally took his headphones off.
Thanks
he was
for
trying
buying
to
me
just
time.
read the weather.
Professional.
Read the letter. And like,
Yeah.
he couldn't do it.
I got it done because you bought me time.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for your show. I've been listening for many years and appreciate all you
Cool.
do. Even became a scoop through you guys years ago.
Oh, nice.
When I realized this Jacob dude wasn't a temporary fixture on your show, and I should probably check out his
He's
podcast.
been adopted.
I was wondering if you guys have any advice on grieving for and moving on from your past self. I'm 24 years old now, and since about 11 years old, I've dealt with mental illness. I spent over a decade of my most formative years depressed, isolated, struggling, and self-harming with disordered eating and suicidal thoughts and actions. I've been in hospitals 5 or 6 times and lived in group homes against my will as an adult due to suicide attempts and having no support system if I was to return home. Now I'm 24 and I've never been happier. I've been well for about 2 years and only occasionally small dips in mood. I recently moved in with my partner of a year, have a decent job, am attending a trade school, and even have a couple of friends. However, I can't seem to move past on grieving my former self. I don't know if grieving is the best word, but just utter sadness for who I was for most of my life.
Oh.
Yeah. I cry about how ill she was for so long, how she never truly felt loved, was so alone, sad, and feeling helpless while she was just fighting to continue living. How so many opportunities were never pursued due to mental illness, many experiences that she never got to have, and all of the happiness she missed out on. I feel sad for my current self and how my now beautiful life was almost taken away from me at a younger age, though it also makes me even more grateful for what I have now. Part of me even feels resentful when I hear others talking about their teen and early adult years and all the experiences and fun that they had. How do I move past who I once was, except that though my experience was awful, I cannot change the past and have to keep moving forward. I'm trying to meditate and be mindful more and enjoy the life I have now. I plan to write letters to my past self, but I'm not sure how much closure that will bring, if any. I do have a therapist, but it's a fairly new relationship, and I'm hesitant to bring it up because every time I think about it, I just start sobbing. Anyway, thank you again for your show and all you do. I look forward to hearing your voices every week.
Aw.
Thanks, Katie. Pronouns are she and her.
Thank you, Katie.
Hi, Katie.
What an interesting letter.
Yeah.
Man.
That's an interesting take. I like that take. That's cool.
Let me ask you guys something. Would you rather Katie
Oprah
work
Winfrey.
on... I'm just going to keep moving on.
Yeah.
Would you rather Katie kind of keep working on mourning this past self or moving on into the self that she is becoming?
I was thinking about
Professionals.
Have at it, Haas.
I feel like both.
I've done my part.
Thank you,
Pitch
Jake.
complete.
Dr. Smith. First of all, let me just acknowledge in one small paragraph, you filled in like a decade of
Yeah.
shit you went through,
Yeah.
which is insane. And I'm just impressed.
You should write short stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you did it. You told us
Yeah.
everything. I'm just impressed that you made it to a place where you do feel happier now, and that's wonderful to hear.
Oh,
We don't always
huge.
get letters that are kind
I'm
of.
so glad you
on
brought that
side.
up because for any listeners out there who relate to all that list of things, suicidality, going to the hospital, disordered eating, all of these painful things, self-harm, and the thing I really hope you caught from that very short letter, how it all got better. It gets better. So much better that this person now doesn't relate to that old self. And when you're in the midst of the suffering and you're in the grip of mental illness, it is a forever tunnel. You do not ever see it changing. And that's why people become so hopeless and they start thinking suicidal thoughts because they cannot imagine a life beyond the one that they are living. And we need letters like this.
Yeah.
One of the things I am so proud of in the show is how many people, especially in the Discord community where they get a little bit more privacy but are still willing to open up to the community, how many people have shared their own stories of triumph and how they've overcome things. If you go back in our back catalog, you can find longtime supporter of the show, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, does an entire episode with us where he recaps his own suicide story and surviving. We need stories like that.
Yeah.
Because if you meet Rob now, like, this guy's got it all. Like, his whole life's awesome. Like, he married a woman way too good for him, and he knows that. And, you know, just like, he has it all, and he tells the story.
Jim just driving him back down.
Just, yeah, you know what? Take him down a peg. His life's too fucking good, and I'm a little jelly. No, but, you know, it's amazing. We need stories like that. And I just want to lead off by saying we need a letter like this because so many people do not believe their lives could get better. And hearing a story like this where a person's actually reflecting on the pity and sympathy they feel for their former self to the point of grief for that person because they in no way relate to that anymore.
Yeah.
Just a triumph. It's so important that people know that that happens.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say the letter writing, a version of that I do actually think might be helpful. It is a tool that I will use sometimes with clients who are grieving the loss of an actual person. We'll talk about writing letters to that person, or especially when there's a complicated loss like that, where this was your life experience and it's made you who you are, but also is just super shitty. Like, I mean, you had no support and you went through this horrible time during a formative years of your life. And so coming out the other side, writing letters back to that person, like Jim said, that you don't even relate to anymore, I think can sometimes bring reflection and closure and just a way to get it out. The second thing I heard you say at the end, you do have a therapist that's a new relationship, so it does take time to build rapport. But when you shared, I'm hesitant to bring it up because I will just start sobbing. And that's interesting to me because when I went and saw a therapist, that was pretty much what I did the first session. Like, let me just come in here and start sobbing.
I'm here to cry.
Right?
I'll get to the details next time. I'll use words next time. I'm just going to cry at you for an hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, I have to hold my stuff together for all my clients and separate these things. But this is a space where I'm risking it and being vulnerable to this person. And I'm not telling you have to do that. Definitely do it when you're comfortable. But there's some feelings of being free when you do that and just releasing. Release is a good word. And Yeah. So I would think on what's making you hesitant to do that in therapy. Is it just that you haven't built that relationship yet? Do you think that even if you had that relationship, you'd still have trouble crying and opening up to them? Because your therapist may have some great input too. But yeah, it might just be a time thing of building that rapport. So I don't know. Those are two things that stuck out to me.
Good points.
I don't know. I kind of have a different take on all of this, kind of going back to Jacob's question. And this is just the way that I view it. And not to say that that's better or worse. It's just different. And maybe this isn't, appropriate for everybody. This is just my perspective. Like when I think back on my life on things that went bad, I do have I have empathy for myself having gone through that experience. But my perspective is different in the sense that, like, I don't know, I just have this belief system that resistance builds strength. Mm-hmm. And so if you don't have that resistance, then you don't build strength. I look at those times and I think, like, wow, how much better I am now because I went through those things.
Right.
And so it's not something that I look back on with grief or something that I feel bad about or that I feel like I need to grieve that. It's just something that I accept, and I almost kind of wear it as like a badge of pride kind of type thing, where it's like, oh yeah, I made it through that.
Right.
And it's also one of those things that helps me out in the future too, is like kind of looking back and like, if I've got new obstacles or new things that come up in my life and I'm like, oh shit, I don't know if I can do this. It's kind of that moment that's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Look at, you made it through that.
Mm-hmm.
Is this going to be harder than that? If the answer is no, then okay, well then let's go. Like I kind of use it as a little bit of like kind of a pick me up and kind of optimistic, pat on the back or encouragement. In a sense.
Remember that you've been in the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you that fortitude to remember you can go forward. One of the things that I think I kind of relate to here, and I think a lot of people listening probably had their moment of like, yeah, that's probably how I feel about some things. That idea of missing out on some things. Mm-hmm. Like, I think all of us as humans made certain choices, right? Like, I got married at 20 years old. I missed out on the entire season of life.
Never been to a bar single.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
never been to a bar
that.
single.
Me neither.
Made it to absinthe for the first time in 2024.
Yeah, exactly. Had children really young, and so like was in a dad mode very early, and so you do look through the window at other people's lives and think like, what was that like? And I probably would have ended up in this phase of life at 38, but like, that's interesting that other people got to experience this other thing. It's not a mystery to them. It's exciting. And like the way the writer talks about mental illness in many ways, stealing entire phases of childhood. Like I didn't get to be happy with my teenage friends. I didn't get to be excited to go to prom. I was in a goddamn psych hospital, and like that is a very serious thing. Or people that grow up with chronic illness or went through different disasters. There is this sense of grieving the life unlived. And I think that there's a lot of truth to that. And, I really like the letter writer because you're just very articulate in this. I like this idea of giving yourself permission to speak to that former self. Like you were saying, Whitney, in writing the past tense letter to yourself, it smacks of transactional analysis and that ability to sort of speak to adolescent you, like in which we usually use to reframe shame and resentment, right? Like I'm so disappointed in myself. Why couldn't I get it together? I was in these hospitals. But then it's like, well, hold on. What would adult say to child, right?
Yeah.
Would you be cruel? Would you blame yourself? And the writer already has that sort of voice internally to be able to look at childhood self and say, hey, I'm proud of you. You survived. You overcame so much. It was so hard. You were a survivor. And I have such a great life. And I know I owe that to you. You handed the baton to me. And I love that language. I mean, it doesn't necessarily make the fact that you missed out on things and the grief of those episodes go away. But boy, do I feel like you're on the right side of how to reframe all that.
Yeah.
And that's also what made you the person you are now.
Yes.
It's trite and people say it all the time and it's but it is true that your experiences have made you.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I was.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds similar to where Nick was trying to go.
Yeah.
I feel like I summed it up better, though.
I feel like
way better. That's the doctor that
that's
helps.
It.
Yeah.
So that's an extra 4 years of school.
It shows up. It shows up.
But like those questions, like I every once in a while I kind of catch myself going down that road too, of like having those questions of, oh well, what if this would have happened? Or what if, like I never got to play hockey when I was younger, and not until I was actually an adult did I actually start. How would my life have been different? Could I have made it further?
Yeah.
Or what if this, all this, and like, well, but there's this other part of me that kind of kicks in is like, well, but that's not your story then. Like, okay, so Jim, what would have happened if you hadn't gotten married young?
Right.
Well, then it wouldn't be your story.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You're living your story
This
right
is
now.
me. Yeah.
And it kind of reminds me of, have you seen the movie Nowhere Boy? It's a story about John Lennon
Okay.
growing up as a kid. And there's this one scene in there where, he was a big Elvis Presley fan, and so he's kind of feeling depressed. He's sitting there having a conversation with his mom, and he's just like, ugh, why couldn't God have made me Elvis Presley?
Wow. He
and
thought this.
And his mom said, because he was saving you for John Lennon.
Yeah.
And like looking back, it's like, wow, that's very powerful,
Yeah.
But it's kind of that same philosophy of like, well,
Because he wanted you to get shot, not die on a toilet seat.
exactly.
Yeah. That was the
Don't question
message.
God. That's ultimately that's what we're
that's
talking
it.
about.
You're destined to get shot, not die on a toilet.
Thanks, Mom. Happy birthday, John.
No, and like, I mean, I don't know. I just keep kind of going back to that. And anytime I have those thoughts, I keep going back to like, well, but this is my story. And
Right.
and this is what I need to be grateful for.
Well, career stuff is always, I have a lot of, kind of like, if I had done this, then maybe this would have happened things in my career.
Yeah.
25 or so years ago, I got an offer to do NASCAR.
Woo!
And, NASCAR wasn't as big as it is now. It was big. It was plenty big. But it wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't all about kind of the spectacle. There's more spectacle around the race.
Right.
It's not so much just go sit down, watch a race. Like there are bands, there are events happening,
yeah.
all these types of things.
Oh, yeah.
And I declined it. I declined the job. I don't remember if it was an offer or like a final interview or whatever, but either way, I declined whatever it was. The person who took it instead
Dale Earnhardt.
is Dale Earnhardt.
Yeah.
And
Shit.
just
I
became
don't
that.
know, bud. I feel like it would have worked out.
But no, the person who took it became like a big wig with NASCAR now, and he now works for NASCAR. Works on like the sound systems for all the tracks. And,
wow.
and kind of does all that stuff,
Which is no small show. That
No.
is a big ass.
And I'm like, that could have been me. Like for one different decision, I could have done that. I don't know that's better or worse than what I'm doing now, but like that's a great gig.
Yeah.
And like there are definitely days where I'm like, oh, I could have just done that. I could just be like, I could be traveling more. I could do these things, and things that appeal to me. And you go like,
I think
nothing
it's
to do about it.
fair to question it.
Yeah.
If that would have happened, I wouldn't have gone to Absinthe this weekend.
That
So I
you
want
know
you to
of.
think about
You don't
that.
know.
I wouldn't have gone.
You don't
I
know
wouldn't
that.
have gone. I only went because I got discounted tickets.
You would have gone earlier.
That's 100% the reason. Yeah, that's right. I probably
Well-
would have gone earlier. That's right.
I was going to say, I think you're all hitting on, I thought about the same thing too, briefly. Our decisions we make throughout our life, we don't know what would have happened if we would have made different decisions. But I think it's tough here because I hear y'all sharing from a perspective of, if I just wouldn't have gotten
Right.
married or if I just
Right.
picked a different job. Whereas this is like
Yeah, pain and
real
suffering.
pain and suffering and a lot of traumatic things that happen. And
Yes.
that's where I feel like that is something to be addressed eventually.
Yeah.
Once you can kind of work through a little bit of grieving, or I would say even also being very gentle to your past self, because it sounds like you did the best that you could.
Yeah.
You were 11 through your teen years into early 20s. You said you were hospitalized against your will, or kept in group homes against your will after being hospitalized, trying to gain control. You had no support. I mean, I don't know a lot of kids who could have come out of that
Yeah.
successfully, successfully being relative, but healthy and in a happier space. And so I think really focusing on that gentleness with
Yes.
who you were. And it sounds like
Yeah.
you did the best you could and not being too hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, why didn't I make different decisions?
Right.
I've been there too. I'm like, why didn't I do this or that as a kid, as a child? Why
Right.
didn't I make these different decisions that caused, in my mind, traumatic things later on for like my sibling or whatever
Right.
else. And it's like, that wasn't my responsibility as a 12-year-old, as a 13-year-old.
Right.
It's like you just did the best you could.
Which
for your-
I love that voice, and that's the writer has that ability to be kind to adolescent self,
Yeah.
which is huge.
Yeah.
And I used to have that conversation a lot with a lot of the clients that I worked with in drug and alcohol treatment, where there's like a lot of trauma, and then they're just like, if I just would have done this one thing, then this traumatic event would have happened. I could have avoided this. I could have taken more responsibility. I could have blah, blah, blah.
The substances.
And it's like, well, yeah, but you were 12 years old.
Right.
And it's like, and I would have to ask him, like, would you trust a 12-year-old today to make the decision that
Right.
you are holding yourself accountable to?
Right.
And like, well, no. It was like,
without
exactly.
guidance, do you trust them to make it? Do you judge them for making it? But no, I think you bring up a really good point, Whitney. Yes, always yes. And the key word there was trauma, and I think that as much as there is a grieving of the life and the pain that the child you suffered, a lot of times the way we do trauma treatment is really, that is one of our objectives in the beginning, is to get you to like reframe bad things into a perspective of, I pity that version of me suffered. They are a survivor of difficult things, because a lot of people struggle with, I think, guilt and shame. And I don't hear that in your letter, which I think is already a triumph that you've moved beyond that. But then the next move in trauma treatment is then going back and processing that with a sense of mourning, with a sense of acceptance for these things, and living, I think, boldly today as a way to repay that person.
Yeah,
that
time
they
lost,
paid those debts for you early. And there's a way to make it noble. There's a way to look at it and say, I'm sad for those childhood things I didn't get to experience. I'm sad that girl suffered, but I am so grateful for the suffering that she went through, going from hospital to hospital to hospital, never giving up, not running away from those group homes. Yeah, you were forced there against your will. There's a trauma to treatment for sure. And yet you endured. And because of the choices you made, you got through that. You're living better today. So I think this is a really profound letter. I really love this work. I'm so glad that you're doing the therapy. I'm so glad you're involved. I hope that that's something that, you really experience some continued progress in and addressing your past. And last word on this, everybody out there, no matter what you are going through, if you are feeling that sense of despair for the future, if you're believing that the pain you're going through today is endless, if you're looking through the tunnel of the future and you do not see any light, letters like this are so important. And if I may be so bold, shows like this are so important that bring letters like this, because you need to know the truth. And the truth is, it gets better. Sometimes because it honestly can't get any fucking worse. But it's going to get better if you continue to persist, if you continue to lean in, if you continue to do the next right thing and keep it small and just keep it for today. Eventually, letters like this are possible. And this could be you one day. You could be writing into a show and saying, you know what? I once believed there was no point. I was ready to end my life. And now here I am today, and I am baffled by how good my existence is. I almost feel guilty for how great it is. So that could be you. Never give up. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about obtaining an ADHD diagnosis. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don, Malia, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpy Kai, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. All right, today's trivia. Thank you to Byler T. We're going Tour de France.
Oh, this is that France one.
Tour de France.
Shit,
Yeah,
I didn't study.
that's what I said. France.
How many croissants?
Yeah, France Ferdinand.
Okay.
Oui.
All right. What year did helmets become required
Oh my gosh.
for Tour de France
Christ,
riders?
I'm so upset that they weren't always required.
Yeah.
That is horrible.
I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. So this is a really old thing, right?
Yeah, when did Tour de France start?
This started 2023.
Oh, Jesus. The
Wait.
Lance Armstrong thing really
What?
confused me. He's fucking with me.
No, of course I'm fucking with him.
Yeah.
Come on.
You
like
confused
Jacob,
Jacob.
Come on.
You know Jacob wasn't listening to 90% of the show until that last statement. And then he's like, wait a minute, context clues are not making sense right now. I'm going to wait for numbers on this. Do we get multiple choice?
We do.
Okay, same old rules.
Oh, wait, so
And,
what?
and they're blacked out too, so that's
Oh,
cool.
Good job, buddy.
So you can guess too?
I can.
All right.
Yeah, good. Always black out the options. Otherwise,
I'm
Nick
gonna wait
cheats.
for options as well.
All right.
What year were helmets?
Yeah, what
Required
year
in
did
the
helmets
Tour
become
de
required?
France.
Oh, so it's at this point, it's either like guess the exact year or you're just wrong. This isn't like closest without going.
You're
over
gonna have to
type
nail
thing.
it, yeah, because we're getting options.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, options.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Jim said, I listened to part of it.
There it is. I know how it works. I know where it goes.
1943. Oh, and there's like little trivia bits here too. 1943, they already had them because of the war.
Oh.
1983, related to trickle-down economics. Sounds solid.
Yeah.
2003, Iraq War. 2013, Lance Armstrong admitted to doping.
He just wanted to put that in there.
Yeah, I think those are just,
that's just
not
bitterness.
necessarily have anything to do with the helmets. Those
Give
are
us the
just
years without the tidbits.
1943, 1983, 2003, 2013.
I was already going to guess 1980 before we said the answer. So
That
I'm
feels
going with
safe.
83.
You're going with 83?
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah.
03.
I was going to go 03 as well.
We got 83s and 03s.
So like seatbelts. When did seatbelts?
It's not going to be 43 because we're all going to be horrified.
Yeah.
There was just not.
I don't
there
think
for so
bicycles
long.
were even required in 43.
Yeah, you just ran it. Yeah, that's
you just
right.
lie down on
Rolled
your
around.
side and roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll take the under. I'll take 43.
It's not going to be 43.
It's not going to be 43.
Yeah.
but I just want to be.
If they ran a Tour de France in 43, I'll be surprised.
Yeah.
But
Jim
required.
is correct. He is wrong.
Yes.
Oh, damn it.
As is Whitney. It is 2003.
Yeah.
Wow.
Point to Nick and Jacob.
That is
All
so
right.
late.
Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
required.
Really not okay.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Damn.
people are probably wearing them, but just not.
Oh,
I
requiring
doubt it.
Okay.
Jesus.
Cool,
Oh my
here we go.
gosh. Sorry, bicycles. When we were in Czech Republic, we did a little bike tour through the countryside and we're like, yeah. They were like, do y'all want helmets? Peter and I said, yes. This was 2018, I feel like.
Please.
And they looked at us like we were crazy. I'm like,
Americans and
yeah, we're going to get a helmet for bicycling like in the
skulls.
city and then out into the like.
Well, in the Tour de France people's defense, they're so filled with
They're
like
gonna
horse semen that I'm pretty sure they are invulnerable. I'm pretty sure
Wait,
they could
what?
just hit a
What?
wall.
No,
It'll be
back
fine.
up. Back up.
What
back
do you
up.
think horse semen
France.
does?
It's French for France. You're welcome. Yeah.
Next
I
question.
cannot. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on, Nick.
Okay. Where does Tour de France usually end? I'm going to say France.
France. Final answer, France.
You guys taking that one? Shit, I don't know anything near France. So,
It could not be France. It might not be
Possibly.
France.
Yeah.
I mean,
Might be Berlin for all I
Belgium
know.
or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they're going to blind. So are you going to blind?
I'm gonna. I'm gonna wait for
France
choices.
is not my answer. It's going to be
Yeah,
a
yeah.
city in France.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Wait a minute. Well, you don't know if it's a city or a country.
I don't.
If I say a country and it turns out to be a city in that country, can I have it?
No.
You guys
I
are
was gonna
assholes.
say yes.
Not
By
unless,
you guys,
not unless
I
I
mean
need credit for
specifically
France.
Jacob.
You think Jim's gonna get a city correct?
Because I want
in a country?
England, but I don't know where. You know,
No,
so
I'm going
like,
to let him have it.
He can have
I
England.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
can,
that's it.
no matter what
Absolutely.
city, no matter what city,
No,
I
doesn't
can have
matter
it.
what
You
city.
got it.
You know
I
what?
want England.
You know what? I'll give you all of America too.
Yeah.
I'll give
Okay.
you all of America.
Because if they're going to
Just
bicycle
as a
across
bonus.
the English
Well, that
Channel,
seems
they
far.
might as well bicycle across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
They're not connected.
Oh my God, Jim!
They are.
There's a
By-
bridge.
They are connected.
It's London Bridge.
By the English Channel.
There's a fucking bridge. They wouldn't ride the bikes on
How
the bridge.
big do you think the London Bridge is?
I don't know.
Oh my
London.
God! I cannot.
It's big.
Every time,
It's a big place.
Yeah. People think we're kidding.
because he's
So they're not
joking.
connected then. Well, then I don't want to
Jim's
use England
not
then.
No,
joking.
you've got
This
it.
is
England is
real.
yours.
It's done.
God damn it.
Done. Yeah, you get England
You
and
get a whole
everything
country.
west of England.
I'm gonna start crying from laughing.
Like Ireland and all that shit too.
Yeah, you can have Ireland. Absolutely.
Give
you
it
can
to
have
me.
Ireland.
Give
Give
him
me Canada.
Scotland. Give him
Iceland,
Scotland.
Greeceland, all of
You
America.
know what?
It's all yours.
I'm going to throw in Hawaii for free.
Yes.
Damn it. Fucking England.
Okay, there is a hint.
All right.
Not England.
Whatever Jim said
I
is
feel like
wrong.
Jim, it's not England.
Just
The
FYI.
hint does not make me feel any better.
Okay.
It's somewhere in Paris.
That's in France.
Yep.
Jesus.
So I'm gonna wait for.
like
I'm gonna go ahead and wait
It's
for
going to be like
options.
the corner of Rue de
It's going to be the
Champs-Élysées.
goddamn Eiffel Tower. And I
Okay.
fucking picked England. Fuck.
Okay, you're waiting for options too, Jacob.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
options.
Okay, Eiffel Tower,
Yeah.
the Louvre,
Damn it.
Arc de Triomphe, or the Palace at Versailles.
I want Arc de Triomphe.
I do
Oh,
too.
that
I
feels
I
right.
wanted Arc de Triomphe.
That's
God
right.
damn.
Or
I'll go the
the
Louvre.
Louvre is my
I'll
other
go
one,
Louvre
but
just
Arc
to
de
be
Triomphe.
different.
It's going to be the Arc.
None of these are in England.
Interesting.
Damn it. Not anymore.
My
Since
cheeks
they
still
moved
hurt.
it.
Laughing at Jim.
Okay, it is the Arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
That's solid.
All right, so Jacob 2, Whitney and
got
I
one.
1. Jim still not on
Jim,
board.
-1.
I'm going to come back with a blind. You'll
You
see.
know what? You know what? I feel so good about this. I'll give you England and all of America for the rest of the game.
For Tour de France.
Okay.
Nick's so generous.
All right. Why was the Tour de France created?
England. I was just kidding.
England!
That actually could be the answer.
Freedom!
I'm waiting for
England did
options.
not
yeah, I
want
have
it.
No, this was I know this one. This was you know how like with Enterprise Rent a Car,
Yeah.
if one location just builds up a whole lot of cars, they'll give you a one-way rental to another
move
place for
them.
free just to do
Yes,
it. They had
yes.
so many fucking bicycles in
That's
one
what it
part
was.
of France.
Yeah,
They
and the
needed to
Arc de
move
Triomphe
those
had none.
bicycles to the Arc de Triomphe.
that's what it
And they were
was.
like, how do we move all these bicycles?
If only we could get
That's-
some idiots to do this
Yeah.
for us.
That is
Without
what
helmets.
Austin, Texas needs. They need one of those electric scooter
Yeah.
races
Yeah.
so they can get some of those scooters
There's
out to
so
other
many.
areas.
Dude,
right.
an electric scooter race would fucking rule. Like, that would be so cool.
Oh yeah.
So dangerous.
Oh,
I know,
that is
yeah.
so fucking cool.
It's going to be in the Olympics.
One
Oh,
rule,
yeah.
no helmets.
Yeah, and everybody gets those gladiator jousts that look like giant Q-tips.
All
Oh
right,
my
here
God.
are our options. To test of athletics,
Uh-huh.
to sell bikes, to sell newspapers, to sell performance-enhancing drugs.
It's to sell bikes. I think that Jacob was half right. I think it's that.
I'm going to go with newspapers.
I want newspapers.
Wait, newspapers, bikes, drugs, and what was the other one?
Test of athletics.
Oh, I'm going to go with
Well, that's
that one.
the safe bet.
All right.
Athletics.
All right. So Jim's bikes, Whitney's athletics, Jim and Jacob, or Nick and
Jacob
Jacob are newspapers.
To sell newspapers.
Ah.
The newspaper.
Jacob's killing it.
Oh.
It's that Louisiana.
I know my
French
cycling.
Creole.
That's
Interesting.
right.
The
Yeah.
newspaper was yellow, which is why the winner wears a yellow jersey.
Interesting.
Huh.
Fun fact.
So it must have been like sponsored by a newspaper or something? Okay. Yeah, sure.
Which makes sense because, like, the Ragbri in Iowa,
I was like,
Is-
what's a ragbri?
Ragbri is the Register's
Gesundheit.
annual Great Bike Ride across Iowa.
Oh.
The Register is the Des Moines Register, it's the newspaper.
Oh, so
Got
you
it.
had some insider info.
Okay.
That was,
Some,
is your
uh,
Slumdog Millionaire.
Slumdog Millionaire stuff there.
Slim.
Interesting, yeah.
All right,
Making
thank you. We're
those
going to save
things.
the rest of these for the next break.
I just figured selling bicycles was too easy of a guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it
They
just
were
felt-
already using bikes.
I was guessing something more nefarious, like a newspaper magnet was sponsoring this race
Yeah.
to draw attention away from an affair or something.
Oh, that would do it
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, to distract.
That'd be very French.
How France. Obtaining an ADHD diagnosis from Dane. I just started therapy as a step toward potentially getting diagnosed with ADHD. My oldest son was diagnosed a year ago. The fact that it's often hereditary and, looking into it, many things seem to fit me. Getting diagnosed or not would just be helpful to understand and help myself more. Through Kaiser, I was matched with a therapist on Zoom, and the first session was focused on an ADHD assessment and a little bit about some other struggles I have. It was deemed that I don't fit the typical criteria for ADHD, but more fit an anxiety diagnosis. The second session started with a list of subjects we had talked about that I could focus on, for the purpose of goal setting a specific subject. We talked about my struggles to get and stay organized at work. She had some suggestions, which I appreciated. This lasted maybe 15 minutes. She asked if I had anything else I wanted to bring up, and I said, no, not really. Then she wrapped up the session, and we scheduled to meet in a couple of weeks. I think I misstepped, in that I have plenty I want to poke around and figure out, but I don't have the desire to say, oh yeah, let's talk about the challenging relationship with my mother, my wife, and my people-pleasing tendencies. I expected the therapist to ask more questions and for us to explore together for the full session. I already feel like many people need therapy more than I do, and I don't want to be an imposition or waste anyone's time. What do you recommend in the future and for others? I'm really thinking about dropping out of therapy if I don't need to go. Is there a fault with my incorrect assumptions? Are they just inexperienced? Thank you all for your pitch perfect podcast. Warmly, Dane. Pronouns are he and him.
Thank you, Dane.
Pitch perfect.
Pitch perfect. So to be clear, the title of this just started with obtaining an ADHD diagnosis. Obviously, the letter ended up being not about that, just about this question of Dane is now in therapy, originally seeking a diagnosis, which ultimately didn't pan out. The therapist is not necessarily probing very far. Dane has things that Dane would like to talk about, but just said, no big deal, talk to you next time. And Dane's questioning, should I even be here if I'm taking up a seat? Which comes up a lot. Should I take up a seat in therapy when there's other people maybe dealing with more severe things?
Well, the other people aren't your problem.
Yeah. Fuck them, Dane.
That's the easy part.
Just curious. When the two of you, and I'm talking to Whitney
Jacob.
and obviously Jacob.
Yeah.
When the two of you are doing assessments.
Uh-huh.
That's the first place I want assessments. Go on.
Yeah. When you do like a full biopsychosocial assessment, you know,
Yep.
Jacob, you know what I'm talking about.
Rectal exam.
Yep.
When you do
That's how you
that,
start.
Hello, I'm Jacob. Take off your pants.
obviously the client comes forward and says, you know, I'm here for these reasons. But you do a whole biopsychosocial assessment.
Yeah.
Are there things that you spot out on that you kind of then bring up and say, hey, you know, you didn't mention this, but when we're doing our assessment, you said something about this. Is this something you're kind of interested in addressing?
Yeah.
Why are you answering? I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'll just shut
The
up.
commitment to the bit is real. I'll start, then while Jim gets his
I
doctorate
wish we
back.
were on Twitch because there's so much body language that is such a big part of
We
this
gotta
fucking
get on
show.
YouTube.
You just don't get it.
There's just a lot of just physical fuck yous from Nick straight over to Jeff.
Jacob's still throwing things.
Kind of shit. So deep.
That was the first place I went was the assessment I do in our first session. And I tell the client this usually in our consult call if they're like, yeah, I'd like to go ahead and schedule a first session. I'm like, all right, a first session is going to be on this date and time after we decide that. And we're going to spend that first session just me asking you a bunch of questions about you to just get to know you better. And then we'll create goals.
Yeah.
And so that goes to Nick's treatment plan that he lives. But that's part of it because it gives me a chance, just like you said, like I had a client recently who came in, you know, for a relationship ending, but actually we're going to talk about all their some childhood shit they've been through. So in that case, I asked them, hey, what do you want to work on? And when they share, well, I don't know, I'm still just kind of, you know, they can't really word it in a treatment goal, kind of spit back to them what I'm hearing. And you know what? It sounds like you may want to work on the stuff with your mom. Are you open to doing some like inner child work or things like that? Or are you just wanting to get through this difficult time? Like, what are you wanting to do? And then they'll give me feedback then saying, nope, I just want to get through stuff right now. Or, you know, I'm open to that. I'd really like to talk more about this other stuff. Even though, the initial little write-in saying, hey, can we have a consult call? I ended a relationship. But really, there's so much under that.
Yeah.
So.
Rarely. So real quick.
I think Whitney's right.
PSA.
Thanks.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so
I concur.
I have a doctor backing
good.
me
Yeah,
up.
good. He backs you. So for the audience, biopsychosocial, just to translate, we've talked about it in the past, but it's been a while.
Good to repeat.
When a therapist first meets you, obviously the very first thing we usually ask is something to the effect of what brings you here today, right? What's going on in
Classic.
your life? And so they let you know, here's my challenge. I'm feeling anxiety. I'm going through a breakup. Something's happening. I'm here because I've been drinking too much.
Crying a lot,
I've lost my job. So something comes out. Then we do, as we start that conversation, we ask a lot of very specific questions because we are trying to fill in a very long intake note about you. And this is meant to gather as much information as we possibly can. So topics that we're going to try to get you to talk about are things like, well, okay, you're telling me that you're here for anxiety or a breakup. Tell me how long this has been going on. What's been happening? So we're talking about history of the present problem, something we're trying to get. We're trying to identify any signs or symptoms
Has it gotten worse?
Yep. Have you done anything to try to change this already? What's been the progression of the problem? That's helping us to drive toward a diagnosis and have like what's called case conceptualization, an understanding of what needs to happen. So we're starting there, but then we're also going to pivot and start asking questions like about you. And we'll say things like, so, you know, I don't know if you have go-to phrases, Whitney, but like I usually start with, tell me what brings you here today. What's going on in your life? They summarize that. I usually try to
wallet.
Yeah, jump right into cunt
That's
wallet.
clearly
I
where
like
we
to come in strong. But, I'll ask things like, tell me about the history of this, how long's been going on. I'll just get kind of a brief on that. Then I like to say, so I want to get to know you as a person today. It's a big part of how we're going to be able to be helpful. And I usually use phrases like, I want to learn about your human ecosystem. I want to learn about the people that matter in your life, the people that care about you, and get to know you, what your life looks like. So what do you do for a living? Tell me about your life and who matters to you. So we talk about people, right? Oh, my relationship, my job, This is, where I live today. Here's how long I've lived here. Then I say, okay, I want to talk about your history, right? I want to get into a time machine. I want to meet you as a child. I want to learn, like, where'd you grow up? What was your family life like? So these are all pieces, folks, of what we call biopsychosocial. We're learning about your biological health. So we ask things like, are there any medical conditions to be aware of? Your health history, medications that you're on. We learn about your psychohistory. Have you been to therapy before? Have you ever struggled with anything and been medicated for anything? And we're very interested in your social history, your family life, who you date, relationships, things that matter, that are relevant, your work life. All of that is very important for us to gather when we first meet you so we can be helpful. Mm-hmm. And the first session is often longer. It's usually an hour and a half. Do you do 90 minutes intakes?
I schedule 90 minutes, but it just depends on how much the client expands, really.
Right.
Every once in a while, I'll get through it in like a 60-minute window.
I do 60s.
Yeah, I was going to
never
say,
do 90.
It almost never takes 90.
Yeah.
It
I
might
think
take
when
a
you're
little over
brand
60.
new, it does.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, as an intern, it would
Yeah.
take forever. I feel like, and I'm glad to hear that. It's a little validating because
I think it's a
lot of
mark.
times
Yeah,
I'm
I think
like,
veterans tend to 2 marks of a veteran intaker. 1, they don't usually need 90, and 2, they are very conversational in the topics. Like, if I'd love for you to watch video of my students when they're doing intakes.
Yeah.
They are going through the checklist.
Yeah.
They're like, next question.
How many times have you...
How much
Did you
drinks
drink
do
alcohol?
you drink in the week?
Yeah.
There's a typo here.
There's a lot
Please
more
forgive
breakdown
it.
to make sure they know to ask
Right.
the right
How
things,
many
too.
roads must a man walk down?
Before he can call himself a man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, veterans tend to be much more fluid, where
Yeah.
different things they're hearing, they will naturally parlay that into another subject area that they need answers on. And then at the very end, if they didn't naturally come to any of those topics, they'll say, I have a few wrap-up questions, just some last getting to know you things. Are you on any medicines right now? How often do you drink? And they'll fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
So in this story, we have the writer doing that intake session. And kind of coming in.
Yeah, I'll ask, is there anything else I didn't ask about that you think I should know?
Yep.
There's almost never, because it's pretty thorough, but this would be a good time this writer
It's a good
could've-
catch-all. And you know what? I need to get back in the habit of doing that. I used to do that as part of my format, and I'd usually make a joke about
When
it.
you had
like,
a PhD.
Yeah, back when I was still a doctor, so I lost that. I lost a lot of things.
It's been slipping since then.
yeah.
It's been all
Lost
downhill.
my edge. But I used to say things at the end like, is there anything I haven't asked you about that you feel is important for me to know?
Yep.
And when they're kind of like, I'll make a joke like, if you've been like abducted by aliens or anything, okay. And then they'll be like, oh, okay.
You want to know about that?
Yeah, you want to know about
He's
that.
like, that took up the last half hour.
No, I didn't mention this.
Or why I found this cocaine on your person.
Who are you? Are we ever going to let this go?
No.
I told you that in confidence.
Yeah.
On air.
On air.
And I make fun of it.
You keep bringing shit up.
To be fair, I don't think he told us on air.
Eventually
I think
the
he told
board-
us at the bar,
Yeah.
and I think that I brought it up on air.
That could be.
Thank
That could
you.
be.
That's probably
I
exactly what
believe
happened.
that's what happened.
That
Under
feels
the
exactly
bus.
right. God damn it.
It felt like something
The
that
trust
needed to
circle
be.
was broken.
It felt like something that was clearly was going to come up on
It's
the show.
kind of an unwritten rule that what's said at the bar comes out on the show.
Hold on,
The
but
opposite of the fucking rule.
like
That is literally the opposite of the goddamn rule.
like Creed.
Yeah. Well, are we just airing fucking laundry, Nick? Is that what we're doing? Let's fucking go with arms wide open. Why don't we just fucking
You know
take
what?
it on?
I'm fine. If you want to talk about Creed, I'm fine with
What are
I
you
that.
was
doing?
trying to figure out when we talked
Fucking
about
Brazil
the movie
Jesus
Creed.
pose.
Arms wide open.
Oh, the sunlight. Oh, welcome to this place.
Okay.
Anyway, so intake sessions, usually we're super just nosy. And then the second session, it's not uncommon for what happened here to happen where you do write the treatment plan. And I usually write the treatment plan myself after the first session because I just say, what do you want to work on? What are the goals? And I ask like a solution focused question to get that out of them.
Me too,
And then I
yeah.
just reframe that into a treatment plan
Yeah.
pretty much as they stated it.
Yep.
And I don't like sit there and like, this is going to be our objective. I write the thing you wanted, you're here for. And I kind of
well, I have
spare you some of
insurance,
the
so I do add
clinicalese.
an objective
You do have
intervention.
to.
But
Well, no, I
there's some-
write it, but I'm not. I don't sit there and like
yeah.
get them to draft it with me.
Oh no, I don't do that either.
Yeah.
I just have their goal and then I do that.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the
yeah.
side.
They give me the
Okay.
goal, then I write out the clinicalese, and then I take care of all that. But then the second session, a lot of therapists do, if they need to have that signed with the patient, they'll do it then or they'll go over it. So what you experienced, Dane, I think is very typical in that way. I get the impression that the second session ended early.
Yeah,
Did that
15
come out?
minutes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was
Oh, did they
thinking
say
too.
that? Did they say 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. That is uncomfortable.
Okay.
That doesn't work for me.
Let me ask you this. This came to mind. they said they were not looking for an ADHD diagnosis, but they were seeking an assessment. Is there any chance this is just like an assessor?
Maybe.
You know what I mean? Like,
if you did I don't know, man. Like, ADHD assessments
like I wouldn't
are a proper thing.
That's what I was gonna say. I wouldn't talk to a client for one session and be like, let's evaluate you for ADHD.
No, if somebody, and I've had people call and say, I want ADHD assessment, and I usually tell them no, like go somewhere else, because what you're looking for is
Jim
a very
hates money.
exhaustive thing. I hate money. But no,
he doesn't have a doctorate to do it.
I can't do it anymore. I'm not fucking qualified because I have a gambling problem. No, but another problem that actually has been happening out in the world is psychiatrists and psychologists who often do ADHD assessments are getting review bombed like crazy because if they don't tell you what you came to hear, they are fucked. In situations like this, like Dane seems completely fine with the fact that Dane didn't get a diagnosis. A lot of people, it is so integral now and so important to them to get that diagnosis that if they get assessed and that person goes, no, I think you actually have anxiety, review bombed. This person's a quack. They don't know anything. They don't take you seriously. They don't fucking listen.
It's kind of like the next level of being a Yelp food critic.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like remember when that was a big thing where it's like, oh, you better.
Yeah. You wanted to be, what's it like, an elite Yelper? I'm an elite Yelper or whatever. It's like that. So anyway, but yeah, no, if we're going to do a proper, I don't do ADHD assessments, but if I did, the first session is not it.
Yeah.
We're not doing that.
No.
I'm doing a
little
intake.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do a biopsychosocial. I'm going to get to know you. I'm going to understand that you're presenting with symptoms of ADHD. And then in the body of our work, we may, if I did assessments, we would then do one at a later time. But an ADHD assessment panel is meant to be quite an exhaustive thing, Dane. It's meant to be something where other people in your life are given prompts where they're meant to write descriptions of you in different scenarios and things they have noticed. There's a battery that you can take. There's a lot of pieces of this. There's supposed to be a very structured interview that goes along with this, all of which you can learn about in my 6-hour ADHD dive at patreon.com/therapy.
So goddamn long.
Which is its own Rorschach test, because if you can listen to it, you don't have ADHD.
Just like it was designed, right, Jim?
I got him. That's
He's on to something new there.
You're looking into the test, and the test's looking into you.
Test.
Fucking podcasting. It is a short one. To have a 15-minute, that sounds immature. That sounds like a really young, inexperienced therapist who's like, so, welcome. How are you doing today, Dane? I'm doing good. How are you? I'm doing good. What do you want to talk about today? Oh, I don't know. Is everything okay? Everything's been great. Great. Thanks for coming.
It almost kind of had this like
weird ass fucking meeting.
It had this sense of like we're getting out of school early type thing, you know?
Yeah,
Great,
like
we're
that
good.
therapist had a lunch date. It was like, well, this is my chance.
And they might have.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Well, I would say too that also them saying we'll meet in a few weeks. I was like, what?
Yeah.
They didn't say next week or 2 weeks if you're going to go every other week. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, in
When
a
I'll
few
see ya.
weeks. Yeah.
I
it's
do
very
have a see you when I'll
casual.
see you policy, though.
Well,
I do have an open calendar.
Yeah, but you're bad at your job.
But
That's
you're not
true.
Kaiser.
That's true. Yeah,
You're
that's-
not an
yeah, good point.
insurance.
Yeah,
like just
insurance is
speaking from
structured.
insurance, there's
Yeah.
a little more structure to that, and you kind of want to show like someone's coming every week, and then maybe you space it
Well,
out.
also,
and
are
then
you
it's like,
billing for that second session with 15 minutes?
No, like 15 minutes. No,
You ain't
Fuck
billing
yeah.
that shit. That's
absolutely
wrong.
not. That's why I'm like, that's
What?
really bizarre. That
I almost
they
wonder
did
if it was
that.
like a case management call. If maybe it was like, hey, this isn't a proper session.
I do feel
this
like
is a
there's
treatment planning case management
something
session.
we're missing with this.
I think that's what it is. For 50, either that person did a 15. Okay, so listeners, here's all the shit you don't see that's happening in the room right
lots
now.
of eyeballs.
The three of us are all staring at each other, and each of us is
Spider-Man.
telegraphically like going, yeah, because of this thing, right? And this
all
other
three of
thing.
us have a gun pointed at
Yeah.
the
What you don't know, so we're all armed to the fucking teeth.
Don't laugh.
4 walk in, 1 walks out. Jacob, because he has all the ammo.
It's always me.
It's always Jacob. He's always the survivor. Okay, so path A, this really inexperienced therapist scheduled a second actual session. In that session, attempted to do the treatment plan, which is totally fine, and then ended the session after 15 minutes. That is called fraud, as the French pronounce
Little
it.
unethical.
Well, more than that, illegal. So, you cannot bill an insurance company for 45 minutes service, which we have to in America bill
I can.
everything a la carte. Jacob can. Life coaches have different rules. But yeah, we have an a la carte system where we have to present what are called CPT codes, which are, what are they, Whitney?
The 90837?
Oh, yeah, that's the code. That was a badass move, by the way. That was a cool flex.
90834
But
would be 45 minutes.
I was going to say, if it's a 45-minute, it's not a 37.
No.
Mic drop.
Bitch. No, CPT is current procedural, I think, terminology.
I don't know what it stands for, yeah. I can't remember.
So, or taxonomy, that's it. So anyway, we have these codes, and the codes represent, it's basically like a food menu. And so a 90834 is the code that Whitney writes whenever she does a 45-minute session.
Think of it as the jelly donut.
Okay. You write 3-7s, don't you?
Mostly 3-7s.
Yeah, that's what I do, too.
Every once in a while. If I do, let's say
Sorry, just trying to make this podcast entertaining.
Yeah, sorry. We're getting way into the fucking weeds.
Yeah.
But thank you for being Jim in this episode. I appreciate it. Coming in with the color commentary.
No, if I do have a session that goes shorter like that, typically I expect to do the 90837, which is 60 minutes or 55 minutes. But if it goes shorter, like that's happened every once in a while where they're like, yeah, I'm just doing really good. I'll make sure we talk about what's been good. I do fill it with therapeutic stuff, but I'm shooting to hit that 40 to 45 minute
You
mark
can sense
to
we're not going for
45.
60. Yeah, I'm going to
Every once in a while, though, I'll start off thinking, oh, we're not going to have a lot to talk about. Like, I'll just bill for a shorter one. But then it stretches. They find stuff to talk about.
And it comes up.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, well, actually, there was
happens.
this other thing. I'm like, okay.
Right.
And we end up going.
So path A, this inexperienced therapist intended to sit down for a proper therapy session, be it 45 minutes or 60 minutes, and for whatever reason, didn't probe deeper, didn't take it further, ended the session after only 15 minutes. That is problematic, I think would be a nice way to say it. That would not be good. The clinical director would be furious. There would be hard questions being asked because now we can't bill for that time because you didn't provide proper therapy. You just did a quick check-in.
Yeah. I was going to say, isn't there, I'm digging out of the cobwebs of older billing situations. Isn't there 15-minute increments? Is that
There
like
are.
emergency services?
Case
though?
management.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
there's
what I was going
crisis
to say.
intervention,
Crisis intervention.
Which this wouldn't be.
No.
And there's case management.
Okay,
So that's path B. Path B, and I could see clinics doing this, especially big ones attached to Kaiser. I could see them saying, we're going to have a proper 90-minute intake, and that's not even a 90837. That's a whatever. And then we do, there it is. We do a follow-up.
You two are fucking killing me.
Yeah. We do a follow-up treatment plan
Nick, what do you
session.
think about
Yeah. Which code do you prefer? 90210?
Nerds! Fucking nerds!
Anyway, so the second path is, there it is.
Cares?
There it is. You could do this case management code. So anyway, Dane, I think that's what they did. My guess is this person did a quick meeting with you for that second session just to draft their treatment plan. They did a poor job framing that meeting. I think they probably should have said, so Dane, this is not a full hour together. We have one task. I want to agree on our objectives. We're going to write out a treatment plan. We're going to sign it. And then, of course, if there's anything on your mind that you want to clarify or talk about, today's the day we're going to set a roadmap. It's not going to be a full hour. That would have been a proper case management meeting. It's also unusual that they're going to summon you to drive all the way back to the office for a 15-minute sit down on a different day and time. You're not usually doing that. You know, I think that you're just going to schedule a second session and roll.
So when you ask, like, what do you do? I would say when you go back in a few weeks, which is probably what Nick's about to say, then say, hey, I thought I was getting therapy. Is this not what that is? It seemed like we met. Like, just lay out facts. You don't even have to
Can you
be
clarify
accusatory.
why that was a short session?
But hey, it seemed a little short. Is that normal? What's the plan here? Like, just ask them.
Yeah,
Did I do something wrong?
What are what should my expectations be?
There you go.
And just kind of, I agree. I wouldn't throw out all therapy quite yet because you know it's possible. Again, this is always the thing that's really tough when we get letters like this because our immediate reaction, I think, the three of us is, "What the fuck?"
Right,
What is
and then
this
we're trying to
person
make
doing?
sense of it.
Right, but then
Jim talks like he's part of the conversation too.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
And then we kind of reel it back and like, okay, it's very likely we are not even getting a view, like a direct story from what's
Just one
happening. We are multiple steps outside of this picture. We're probably missing something. So we always kind of take it from that perspective as well. But don't give up quite on therapy yet. And, you know, the other thing too is I always encourage, I wish our field was a little bit better at, like, you know, being able to kind of poke and prod a little bit. Like, let's dive into some stuff. I'm hearing some things that are causing, you know, and just being more curious and exploring things with clients.
Right.
Some therapists aren't really that good at that yet.
Oh, it's such a missing skill.
And, you know, and then I think sometimes, unfortunately, you have to advocate for yourself, and you have to, you know, if there's something that you want to talk about,
Yeah.
you know, feel free to bring it up. You know, this is, you know, as Jacob always says, like, you're paying for this. You know, you are in charge here.
Yeah. This is your service.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
just, you can go for a few times. And if you find that it is helpful and you find yourself opening up more and therapy is really helpful, then continue going. And if you go a few times and you're like, you know, I don't know that I need this, I'm actually kind of functioning okay, or nothing's really that different or whatever,
Right.
then you can maybe back off. Or actually, I do feel better after just a few sessions.
That happens.
Yeah,
Happens
absolutely.
a lot. Yeah, there's a whole thing I want to do a deep dive on, and I actually want to turn it into a lecture for this school as well. Single session therapy.
Oh,
The
yeah.
modal number of sessions across the world is one. That is the most common number of sessions people will have, is one session.
Well,
And
for
not because
Jen.
they are failures, not because they're quitting, but because in many cases people feel like that was extremely effective for me, and I'm good, and I know how to come back if I need to come back. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, writer, I do not think that you're taking up a seat that's better taken by somebody else. I don't want you to go to that second session and come out of it feeling like you did something wrong. I really think you just described a treatment plan case management session.
Yeah.
I think that's why they allowed it to go short, and they probably had it in the back of their head as like, I'm prepared to make a full session out of this if there's something presenting. If not, I'm going to go ahead and button it up as a treatment plan. I think they did a poor job administratively of communicating that, but I do want you to lean in on the next session. I want you to return. I want you to start working on the things that you've identified as things you want to be about. On your side of the street, and in a second I have a comment for all the therapists out there, but for you, the patient, and for anybody, sometimes patients are nervous because they're like, man, if the therapist doesn't ask questions, I don't know what to say, and I'm trusting you to sort of take me where I need to go. And I don't think that's wrong. We've talked about this in the show before. I still want the patient to show up with the best amount of insight ready to present. I want them to be doing their own thinking on the drive there or in the week leading up to the session, asking themselves, why did I go to therapy to begin with? And what am I noticing surrounding those things? What's been happening in my life? And that's bullet pointing some thoughts so that when you sit down with a therapist, they can say, so let me get caught up with you. What's been developing lately? We intentionally start broad because we don't want to miss anything. If we just sit you down and go, so how's your anxiety been? That closes the door to any other topic going on in your life, and you may not have permission to speak to that. And you're like, oh, that's right, we're here for one thing. And with most of healthcare, that's what you're used to. You go back to your doctor and they go, so how's the sore throat? You say, oh, okay. They don't ask you about anything else. And you don't feel like you're permitted to speak on anything else. In therapy, it is exactly the opposite. We're meant to be holistic. So we do intentionally start really, really broad to try to give you adequate space to say, well, my anxiety's been okay, but my marriage is on the rocks lately, or I've been feeling really scared at work, and I don't know if that's anxiety, but I'm suffering. And we're like, great, that's welcome here. Let's bring that to this work. So we do start broad, but we encourage you to give us an agenda or give us items that have just been happening. So we're looking for you to actively comment on the presenting problem if it's been happening and anything else in life. Now, to other therapists out there or students in training, it is still your responsibility to master what Nick was talking about, the skills of eliciting, which is one of the common core or the core fundamental skills that are basically the hallmark of excellent therapists. The most effective therapists are going to have that ability to elicit information from other people, to develop insight and explore by asking open-ended questions, offering affirmation, reframing, summarizing, and being supportive. And so coming back to those core skills, this writer, Dane, didn't get that. And so the writer just felt dropped in the session and now is wondering whether or not they should even go to therapy if they're in the wrong place. That should never be the experience of your patient. Even in a case management session, there's always more that you can draw out of them. And I think that's one of the hallmark skills of great therapists, again, is that ability to get people to start offering more thoughts and exploring things and doing that in the most invisible way possible. When you use the lightest touch and you get really good at just nudging them along and asking harder questions and getting them to go further and probe and explore, that's huge because you discover, like you were saying, Whitney, all kinds of things that they didn't even show up for.
Yeah.
And then they're like, damn, we're doing some fucking work.
Yeah.
And it's like they didn't even think that they were going to go there. And you
Yeah.
didn't know that either. You
No.
create that together, but you have to be curious and you have to be really good at just finding other approaches to ask the same question 35 different ways.
Yes. Yeah. I do re-ask questions
said.
often.
And just to go on the record, I stand by everything I said at the bar a couple weeks ago about
Okay.
Creed being a great
You're
game.
going
With
hard
all
on it all the
my
way,
open.
yeah, there's a jukebox at the bar we go
Oh my
to, and I
gosh.
bought all the Creed songs last time we were there.
And
To
so did-
troll Nick, it backfired. He fucking stood up and started
Get
singing.
that closer
Yeah.
to the mic.
Yeah.
If
No,
you-
no.
if you play it, it's just
we're
gonna get kicked
flagged.
off YouTube.
We're going to get flagged on YouTube.
Oh.
Stop. We keep getting in trouble
Dang
for
it.
this.
You know what? Worth it. I'm doing it.
Hopefully
What
the
if I
AI
sing
didn't
it in
hear
my voice?
Yeah, no, that's fine. Whitney's version, fine. Yeah, we can take that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about hobbying your depression. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Don Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, Samantha Cone, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpee Kaye, Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you would like to sponsor the show, sign up to become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. Continuing on. Which of the following drugs was Lance Armstrong on? Horse semen. Is this
Byler is fucking airing the laundry. Byler is pissed.
But here's the thing, like, can we only pick one? Or
Oh, that's going to be the joke. It's going to be all of them.
well, I'm gonna wait for options because
Yeah,
I have no
Let's
Options.
idea.
hedge.
Yeah, no, I'm waiting.
Steroids.
Diuretics,
Diuretics.
human growth hormone,
Oh, that's got to be one of
blood,
Ooh.
all of the above.
them. There it is.
There it is. Yeah, I
Give me
want all
that
of the
one.
above.
Yeah, I'll take the
And
buffet.
everyone was doping. We shouldn't single him out.
Yeah, that's true.
In caps.
Okay.
Yeah, but everybody else didn't sue other people for saying that they were doping and ruin people's lives because they implied that they might be doping. Lance Armstrong did that a couple of times.
Stay
go
down,
there.
Byler.
Yeah. And Lance.
Blood is illegal. You can't what are they saying? They're injecting
Blood?
blood.
Yeah,
Like,
so you can actually, because it's something with the.
Oh, that's
how do you
right.
detect you
yeah,
have
that's
blood in
exactly
you?
why.
Oh, okay.
Because it's undetectable.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, you can take blood from. I think it's
horse.
tigers.
Oh,
No, I don't know. I'm
I was
completely,
like,
I'm
what?
completely out of my
I
ass.
believe.
you were trying. You were about to go
but
for
there
it.
was something about something in the blood that, like, if you bring in, like, you can take your own blood out,
Yeah, and get the platelet.
store it,
Oh, okay.
and then your body naturally replaces that blood,
And then you put it
and
back
then you
in.
pump that blood back
I think
in.
it's
Yeah.
like extra oxygen or something, because
That's
now you just
exactly
got a
it.
liter of extra.
Is it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so now
That's
you're
exactly it.
carrying a lot more
Yeah.
oxygen, so you're going to get those muscles.
All right, well, I'm going to go with all of the above.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm taking England. Final answer.
You already have taken England.
Yeah.
It was the
permanently.
blood, the HGH, and what was the other one?
Diuretics.
Diuretics.
To
Which
make them
apparently has a
lighter to
jingle.
go faster.
Well, it's
or-
really Dianetics. Your butt cheeks is warm.
I guess all the above is probably the obvious one.
A la Jack Black.
Yeah.
Correct. All of the above.
Yay! 1 point
Weird.
to Jim. I'm on the board.
In parentheses, this is a bunch of extra space so you don't guess the answer based off of the answer's length. He's right, because that's exactly
Good
what I
job,
do.
Byler.
Ah.
Damn.
Guess the answer.
Byler is playing
'Cause he-
fucking chess.
It's blocked out.
oh,
And
okay.
so I know how long the...
God damn, Byler.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow, he thought of everything.
Yeah.
How many
Impressed.
days of biking are in the Tour de France? Let's go... yeah.
5. I don't know. Sorry.
Let's,
I'm waiting.
Do they
Let's-
camp on the side of the road?
I actually don't know.
Just
I don't
keep
think they
going?
do.
well, they
I
do
think
those.
it's... I'm going to go with 7. I think we need to be right on here. I don't think we can go closest without going over.
Oh, are there options or no?
No, there are no options.
Oh,
Oh,
then
shit.
5 is my guess.
All right, so are we playing Price's Right rules?
I just said that. Jesus Christ. Is this thing on? Can you guys hear me?
I was
I wasn't listening either. I can't remember. What you
Thank you, Whitney.
I said no. I said because there's
You
only
said
4
we
of
can't.
us.
We can't go
Closest
over.
without going over. Okay, so that means
1, 2,
somebody's
3,
got...
4.
Yeah.
Then Jacob just
Let's
fucks
just
us all.
play. Yeah,
All
let's
right,
just...
so
All
just
right,
go
just
for
guess
it.
what you
Yeah,
want.
So you got 7?
I've got 7.
You going 5?
I'm 5.
I'm trying to figure out how many miles can you bike in a day.
Yeah.
It's a tour.
That's the information that I don't have.
Well, they're going really fast.
They are.
Yeah.
I feel
sometimes
like it's
they're
going
going
to be a
downhill.
very
100?
French
Oh.
number. I'm going 14 because of Louis the 14th.
Oh, I was like, what's a French?
I don't know if they're
Right.
related, but 14's the fucking Frenchest
Are
number.
you?
He's Roman numeral.
Let me just ask you a question, Jim, before I
Yeah.
give my answer. Are you sure that Louis the 14th was related to France?
Yeah, he's fucking Louis the 14th.
Of what?
France.
And he was what?
The king?
Okay. Just checking, buddy.
I need your answer in French, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
La King. Chicken a la King.
Torse.
I like him. Contorse, that's all I need.
We do like if we do that,
Carry
take
the
care,
I'm
yeah.
gonna say 20.
Wow.
I'm gonna say 20 days.
You
Wow.
crazy bastard.
That can't be right.
14,
fortnight?
27, 5.
Yeah, that can't be right.
Jacob wins. It's 21 days.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah!
God
Wow.
Stay down,
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
Shit.
Jacob is killing it. He's having a Rain
I
Man
know.
moment
This is
here.
like-
with Twitter
yeah.
rants,
I
I'm
kind of
telling
don't
you.
judge the whole fucking horse semen thing now. Like, I need that too. You
I
know,
still
to get
need
through it.
backstory where this came from,
I'm
other
waiting
than
to hear
just
you
in
say,
your head.
Bro,
what
it's-
does
it's
horse
in there.
semen do?
It's
I think-
clearly part of it.
I think this is what Freud would call projection.
No,
So I want to know.
Hold on.
I think that's what the horse did.
no. Thank you for that. And I'm just going to clear my search history, but this is unrelated.
right.
Okay, that's not important.
What was the longest ever stage
9 inches. Oh, let's go on.
or day of the Tour de France?
The longest ever day.
Answer in miles or
24
kilometers.
hours. Oh,
I know. I was like,
That would
I
have
think
been
We're
we give
going
him
literal.
that. It's honestly solid. So it's in miles or kilometers?
and there are
Miles or
options or
kilometers?
no?
no options.
I'm waiting for Jacob to
We're
go
going
first.
hardcore on this. I know. Yeah.
I'm
There
not
is a
answering
hint. Do we want the hint?
Yes.
It took 19 hours for the winner to complete it.
Oh.
Okay, so if they go 19 hours and they're biking at approximately.
Oh, here we go. Christ. So what? You think they bike for like maybe 12 hours? Like that's the most they're humanly going to do this, right?
No, it just
Wait.
said 19
They
hours.
just said 19 hours.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's helpful. And then distances, I don't know.
Wait, what are you doing, Nick?
20
Nothing.
miles per
Yeah,
hour.
get off
Where
your
are your
phone.
Replying to a text.
Oh, okay, good.
Completely
good.
unrelated.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not multiplying 19 by how fast I think a bike goes, which I'm guessing is like 75 miles an hour.
Feels right. There's no way that's
They got
wrong.
motors on those things, right?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go shot in the dark. I'm going to say 400 miles.
I think we have to go closest without going over on this one.
I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500
I'm going to go 525
more. Just a
Wait, so it's how many miles did they go in 19 hours?
miles. Yep.
who walks 1,000
And you said how many?
fall
500?
down
I'm going to go 525.
520. What did you say, Jim?
400. No, I think the bikes go about 20 miles per hour on average, and I think that they're going approximately 20 hours. I'm timesing those two, and I think that number's 400, but I honestly don't fucking know.
I'll say, if Jim's at 400, I'll say 350.
50. About
60.
350.
360.
Oh, shit.
You said 525 or 75?
525.
25?
Mm.
I'm going to say 500.
I'm afraid Jim
Okay.
gets the point.
Closest without going over, we all lose.
Okay.
Okay, so
Oh.
apparently we all think they're better than what they really are.
Oh,
Right.
what was it?
300 miles.
Or we can't do
Ah,
that.
okay.
Like,
Or 482 kilometers.
Well, that's what I said.
No, it's not.
Just false.
You said England.
England! Whatever. Was that the last one?
For this one, there's a few bonus questions here. We'll save for the end of the show.
Last question. Hobbying my depression from Mike. Hello, Whitney, gentlemen, and Jim. I have depression. I take meds for it, and that keeps it at bay mostly. I don't see anyone for it. My primary care doctor prescribed the meds for me, and whenever I see her, she does ask for updates about it. In the past, sometimes the depression bleeds through the meds. I get those worthless feelings. Now, over the last month, I've taken up a hobby. This hobby has a lot of tinkering and working out of problems. I've noticed since I've taken up this hobby, any sort of signs of my depression are no longer there. Most of my free thoughts are wrapped up in my hobby. Do you believe that this is a good channel for me to keep those icky thoughts away? Or am I just masking it and eventually the depression will come roaring back? Thank you. I'll take my answer off the air. Fuck you in the face, Mike N.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
I think it's fuck you in the face and mouth.
I was going to say, what's AM?
Yeah.
It's just fuck you in the-
Oh.
Oh,
It's FYITFAM. So fuck you in the
fam.
face. Fuck you in the fam. That might be
there
it.
you go.
Or fuck you in the face and
It's
mouth.
very Freudian.
Yeah. But why would you say face and mouth? That's just redundant. You know? So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's the question I want to answer. I don't really care about this other one.
I forgot the other question.
Yeah.
This is 100% of where I'm at now.
What I guess there's a little bit of a maybe I don't know. I hear almost a misunderstanding here that depressive symptoms just go away and never return.
Right. Yeah.
Was kind of
We
what
should
I would
probably clarify that.
Let's
Yeah.
touch on that because it's like, oh, I'm doing this hobby.
Am I cured?
Yeah, am I cured is kind of the vibe I'm hearing.
Right.
And I hear you right, or Mike, when you say, oh, am I just masking it? I don't know. Well, I don't know. You're the only one who can answer that, but it's possible you're not masking it. It is just helping right now.
Right.
And it may
What's the
continue to help.
difference?
That's exactly it. I don't think you can say there's a difference when you're masking.
Masking it versus treating it.
Yeah. Are you masking existential dread by not thinking about it and entertaining yourself?
Yeah.
No, it turns out that's all you can do. Like, there is only one life. So this is it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with that.
And masking is, in my opinion, to others.
Yeah.
Like,
Masking is hiding.
So you're still
it.
dealing with it. You're just not showing.
yeah,
That's
you're not
masking.
showing
Okay.
it. So, like,
Yeah.
if you're saying, I'm not feeling that or dealing with that, I feel good. I don't have those same signs of depression. My opinion is that's not
Yeah.
masking. You feel good.
Well-
Maybe in the past you have masked, and that's where it's kind of triggering. Like, am I really okay? Is this
Right.
actually helping? And you're
Well,
kind of
and
questioning
I get the
that.
question. That's a fair question
Yeah.
to be like, hey, am I doing this right?
Totally.
I don't have a
Yeah, it's not a
therapist.
silly
I only have my
question.
regular doctor. Doctor's giving me meds. I'm taking the meds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a hobby. I'm not noticing symptoms. Have I done something wrong? That's a good question.
And I don't know how long you've been on the meds. Did it say? Because antidepressants can take
Yeah,
time to kick
3 or
in,
4
and
weeks.
so maybe that's helping as well. Like,
Yeah.
if some time has passed, if it's been a month or two, and you're feeling better, and the hobby's helping, all of that, then maybe you found a good cocktail.
I agree with this. I mean, I think the meds are probably one of the more important tools, but hobbying is absolutely one of the elements of my general treatment plans for depression. Like, I am asking, how long are you just sitting here? Because if you're one-on-one with your brain, you're outnumbered, right? And so, like, I don't want you just sitting here squaring off with your depression, hoping that somehow you answer it. Like, there is no answer for the question of why am I alive? Do I have a purpose? My feeling of worthlessness. Like, you're not going to make it go away because you solve this like some goddamn Sudoku puzzle. In the end, all of us are one breath or one bad day away from depression. And what we're doing is not looking into the abyss of existential dread and all the feelings of worthlessness and despair that come along with mental illness. We are choosing to focus on things that are around us. And that includes a hobby. It could be tinkering. It could be painting. It could be fucking podcasting. Like, you're doing something to keep the momentum going in your life. And this actually comes full circle to things like exercise, which a lot of people don't give enough credit for. And think, oh, well, that's not really dealing with depression. The fuck it isn't.
Yeah.
You know, you're doing anything different, that's going to make you healthy.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Jim and Whitney and I have been talking about on this show for years.
Yeah.
Like, exercise helps with depression.
I wish people would listen to the three
Yeah.
of us, you know, exclusively.
I'm skeptical, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to hear you out.
I wish
All
Nick
right.
would just give in.
Yeah. I mean, it's got, amazing effects. It's not just that you're staying busy. Like, it fundamentally changes the way that your brain operates.
Yeah.
Like, it has an actual chemical reaction in the brain
Yeah.
that is incredibly useful for treating depression. And so, yeah, I think, again, I mean, this sounds like it's working, you
Right.
know? I think
This is what solution looks like.
Yeah.
This is what progress
Yeah.
would look like.
well, and even like if you look at it from like a CBT perspective, the CBT triangle with the behaviors,
Yes.
emotions, and thoughts.
Yes.
Like you're changing one of those, which will then influence the other two.
Yes.
This is an example of that. You're changing the
Perfect.
behavior, it's changing your thought patterns, and it's also changing your emotions.
That's exactly it. That is the summary.
Boom.
That was it. That's the mic drop. You are doing CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, even though you don't know you are, because you are
doing it.
fundamentally changing something in your life. And when you're dealing with depression, you have to attack on all fronts. Therapists are usually there to deal with that corner of the triangle, dealing with your thoughts. And we're trying to get your cognitions to change while trying to get you to take up a new hobby and exercise and do something different. And what are your eating habits? And are you self-medicating with drugs and alcohol? Can we break those habits? Like, we're trying to attack on all fronts. If you've found something like this and you're getting into that and that's helping you, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you're making a huge play here, and I love it. I'm frustrated that you didn't tell us what the hobby was, and I think it's because you're
kind
a
of
fucking
a
coward.
little tease.
You know that we
Little
were going to
tease.
talk about it,
Yep.
and you held it back, Mike, because you're scared.
You better answer on
I
Discord or
know.
else.
That's right, Mike. Get on the goddamn Discord, or we're all going to just take shots.
Little tinkering.
What do you
just
guys
doing
think?
A little tinkering.
What's the hobby? What do you think it is? I think Mike's making clocks.
I
I think Mike is living out a deity fantasy as being a clockmaker.
Interesting.
That's what I think it is. Tinkering.
I was
Tinkering
gonna
feels
say-
like clocks.
I was going to say puppetry.
Ooh, of the penis?
Some tinkering and
Doesn't have to
working
be.
out.
Okay, but not
Wow.
you're not
We're not gonna
ruling it
rule
out.
it out
Not
All right, good.
exclusively.
I'm glad you're big tenting this. I'm really glad. Proud of you.
Yeah. My guess is puppetry.
Okay.
Something about figurines. Definitely like maybe painting the little figurines.
Paint by
or-
number set.
Yeah, that too.
Velvet.
A model
painting.
builder.
Yeah, those things. I'm like, I can't. Ooh, airplane, model airplane. That's
Oh,
what I'm
those
gonna
things
say.
are so frustrating. Oh god.
My grandpa did a ton of those.
Yeah.
Ooh, miniature railroad.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what my first thought was.
good
I
too,
could
yeah,
not,
that's
but
so much
I'm gonna go
better.
with airplane.
You're all incorrect. I happen to know one is.
okay.
Oh,
because
yeah.
he wrote me separately.
Oh, good. Good.
For
he's
life
a-
coaching.
He's a Civil War reenactor.
Oh, yeah. That
Yeah.
requires a lot of off-game
Little
thought.
tinkering.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
tinkering.
Little tinkering.
Which side?
Yeah, I was gonna
Which
say-
side is he
and working
reenacting?
out.
Confederacy,
How
but
far
only
is this
because he
reenacted?
already had the uniform.
He had the flag. He was like, oh, well, I guess.
Might as well use
It's
this
weird
thing.
if I don't use it, I guess. Tinkering with this whole writing the fucking Constitution.
See,
Thought.
that's why you should include the hobby in your email,
Yep.
or I'm going to accuse you of being a Confederate sympathizer.
Yeah.
Jacob goes to some dark places.
Yeah. We're going to jump that far. So that's on you, Mike. But if you
That is
are.
true. You
in the
did that,
Patreon-
Mike.
You did this. You did this.
You see what you made me do?
As we wrap up the show, I want to remind you can go to patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show ad-free a day earlier, as well as enjoy our live chat Discord community and our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. Nick, you interviewed a fantastic guest this week. Tell us about the Monday drop that you just did.
Miss Gloria Miller.
Well, that last name sounds very familiar.
It sure does. Sounds a whole lot like Tess Miller,
Oh my God.
Tess's mom.
What?
And she was delightful. What a sweetheart. She is a wonderful person. It was a great interview. She does art therapy
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
She's a therapist.
up in Saskatchewan,
Ohio. Beautiful
right?
country.
Saskatchewan, Ohio, right outside Akron. Akron. No, and she works a lot with the indigenous population up there. So
Okay.
it's really interesting to
wow.
kind of hear her take on that and everything. It's
Very
really good.
cool.
Really good. You should
That's
definitely
awesome.
check it out.
Always good stuff on the Monday feed where we get to do a little bit more intensive stuff. Usually it's a little bit more kind of scholarly, but not always. We also just get up there and talk about Jim's UFO theories, of which there are many. I
have not heard of these. Can that be a?
That's a bar conversation.
Okay.
If we could agree to some goddamn confidentiality.
Disagree.
I'm tired of being outed. Every fucking thing I say. You guys
Just cross your
run a wire.
fingers behind your back.
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
like,
that's the rule.
That's right. As long as my fingers were clearly crossed the
Yeah,
whole time.
it's not my fault you didn't see
Read
them.
back the transcript. We also want to let you know that we have 99 reviews, but a bitch ain't one. Oh, 99 reviews on iTunes. We got 2 new ones that just joined the pack. Remember, if you give us a 5-star review, we will read it on air. Matt BB Matt writes, funny and real. I come for the jokes and stay for the life advice and therapy insight provided by all the hosts. They cover hard-hitting topics while also making me laugh out loud every episode. Absolutely look forward to Pod Therapy dropping into my feed every week. They will also read questions if you submit them. Another review from MS Ippy Hippie, which I think is Mississippi Hippie, who's a longtime supporter of the show. Mississippi Hippie wrote, funny, validating, and helpful. As a therapist in private practice, this lighthearted group of podcasters give me a sense of community that I look forward to tuning into twice a week. It's fun to get to know these hosts while they provide knowledge, validation for clients and therapists, and fun banter. Thank you for your dedicated content. Thank you, Mississippi.
And I don't
Hippie.
feel like we're very well respected in the community, so this one means a lot.
Honestly, that was a big deal for me. I was reading that and I was like, oh, that's why they listen. Because they're not listening to learn shit. The whole time they're gritting their teeth like, fucking no, that's not the right way to do that. But then it's like, oh, I get the colleague thing, because being a therapist is a very lonely profession. You know, you don't
Private
hang out.
practice it is.
Yeah, for sure. So that actually makes complete sense. Mississippi Hippie, you've been a secret therapist this whole time. I had no idea, but that was awesome. Who's going to be the 100th review, friends? Get in there. Drop your reviews. We will read them.
I'm just going to do one real quick.
Whatever they say, we will. Yeah,
You have to prove that you've listened to an episode, so I'm not worried.
Yeah, that's right. It's going to get rejected.
Yeah.
No fucking way that breaks through.
I just saw our new TheraPal for the first time.
We want to
did.
thank our
Well, who is
Patreons at patreon.com/therapy. Whitney, who's our newest TheraPal?
It says Peter Lewis, but I don't know if that's
sure
right.
It sure does.
He finally gave his $1.
Now here's the entertainment value in this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not that he signed up to be a TheraPal.
Right. No.
Okay, that's not where the entertainment value in this is.
Yeah.
The entertainment value in this is going to be when he cancels it.
Oh, yes. We're now
That's
on
gonna
Peter
be
Watch.
At
Yes.
least
Yes.
2 good shows of entertainment
Yeah, yeah,
that we're just going to rip on him for 2 shows.
Oh, it's coming.
after he
It's-
cancels.
Yeah.
So
I think he lets it expire of natural causes. I think he signs up for a
not gonna
1-month
stop us.
non-renewable.
Not gonna stop
but
us.
we'll
We're
see the
gonna-
notification. Also, when you leave us, we know. We know that you fucking left us. It makes one of us cry. I won't tell you who. One of us is very sensitive and internalizes it, and it's really a bad day. So just don't ever fucking leave.
Jacob is a softie.
And Jacob,
Yeah.
he cries
He can't
into his
help it.
pillow at night. His pilo, as they say. in
Thank you,
France.
Peter.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah.
And of course, we want to
And I,
thank...
too, am on Peter Watch.
Yes,
Oh, that's the T-shirt.
that's the T-shirt.
Peter Watch.
Peter Watch.
No, just I'm on Peter Watch. I think
Neighborhood Peter Watch.
neighborhood Peter Watch.
Yeah.
Hold on, I gotta write these down.
That is
Person with binoculars staring over a fence. That's
You
what
can
it
also
is.
just have like a picture of a watch with a dick on it.
Yeah.
Peter
It's the
Watch.
Peter Watch.
That's so great.
It's Peter time. We'd like to thank the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro therapy diehards who love you all so much they give till it hurts. The TheraPartners, thank you, Dirty B and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the TheraProducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Myra, Robert Brownie Jr., Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Dawn, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mrs. and Mr. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard fucking Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley, Slap in Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T., who is the author of today's trivia, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kaye, Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, Hannah Marie, Andrew Langmead, Bug Nuts, and Emma Kane.
And if you would like to sponsor the show, if you would like to hear this episode uncut and
Jesus
unedited
Christ.
And why wouldn't you?
and enjoy our spontaneous side projects, go to patreon.com/therapy, and thank you for supporting mental health.
That's all the time we got for this week's session. We want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast, and thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We really appreciate it. Remember, pod therapy isn't something to keep all to yourself. Share this episode with the world. Tag us on the socials when you do. It's at PodTherapyGuys on Instagram, Threads, and Twitter. It's /PodTherapy on Facebook and PodTherapyGuys on YouTube, I should add. And don't forget about all the extra goodies at patreon.com/therapy.
Do you want to submit a question to the show? You can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
You don't have to read the script. I'm Jim.
Thanks when we see you for appointment next week.
I'm
I
on
was like,
Peter
I'm
Watch.
not going to read that.
Because it's not funny.
I know.
It's not original.
No,
Yes.
already happened.